Thanks for joining us. Here are the business stories making the rounds this hour. I am Omobolanle Adeshui. The federal government on Monday said it was working to increase mortgages provided to contributors under the National Housing Fund to the tune of 712 billion naira for the financing of about 100,000 housing units across the country. It disclosed this at the inaugural board and management retreat of the Federal Mortgage Bank of Nigeria in Abuja, adding that efforts were on to deliver 1 million affordable homes to Nigerians under the National Housing Program. The Chairman, Board of Directors, FMBN, Ayodeji Gbeleyi, said the bank's board had approved a strategic plan that would increase the number of mortgages to be provided for the construction of houses for Nigerians. He said some of the measures being promoted towards achieving the target of the 5-year strategic plan included deepening mortgage penetration by facilitating access to home ownership and growing and diversifying the funding mix through diversification of funding sources, among others. Gbeleyi stated that to address the housing deficit in Nigeria, the federal government had initiated the National Housing Program, adding that the NHP's target was to provide millions of homes across the country. The federal government has assured that the future of Nigeria's upstream oil and gas is promising but requires the right legislative framework and a change in policy direction for maximum economic recovery and energy sustenance. The Chief Executive, Nigerian Upstream Petroleum Regulatory Commission, Gbenga Komolafe, gave the assurance while delivering his goodwill message at the ongoing 45th Nigerian Annual International Conference and Exhibition organized by the Society of Petroleum Engineers, Nigerian Council, and Lagos on Monday. According to him, the recently enacted Petroleum Industry Act, PIA 2021, has generous fiscal provisions aimed towards attracting investment, not just for oil development, but for harnessing the rich gas potential of Nigeria, which is among the highest in the world. He listed the focal areas as gas reserves growth, optimized gas production, domestic gas utilization, and gas flare elimination. He said the energy transition discourse should revolve around the implementation of a fair, equitable, and sustainable energy mix that entrenches the principles of inclusiveness and guarantees energy security. And still in the oil sector, the federal government on Monday insisted that it had not raised the pump price of premium motor spirit, popularly called petrol, above the regulated cost of 165 naira per litre. It said the hike in the cost of the commodity, currently between 175 naira per litre and 230 naira per litre, depending on the location of purchase, was done by oil marketers. The government, however, could not explain why it was not enforcing the approved price. Oil marketers across the country recently raised the price of petrol above the approved 165 naira per litre rate without any official approval by the government. This was even though the cost of commodities was still being regulated. The marketers had argued that the 165 naira per litre approved price was not sustainable and was contributory to the scarcity of petrol in many locations nationwide. Speaking on the sidelines of the Stakeholders Consultation Forum on Midstream and Downstream Petroleum Regulations organized by the Nigerian Midstream and Downstream Petroleum Regulatory Authority in Abuja, the Minister of State for Petroleum Resources, Chief Timipre Silva, insisted that the government had not raised the price of PMS. He said, quote, Section 216 of the PIA mandates the authority of to consult with stakeholders before finalizing any regulations or amendments to regulations. The Minister of State for Petroleum Resources, Timipre Silva, has said the federal government is investing in renewable energies, primarily solar, to reduce carbon emissions while continuing to exploit hydrocarbon resources, especially natural gas, recognized as the energy transition fuel for Nigeria. He also said the country, as the oil and gas industry leader, is Africa committed to pursuing the energy transition to promote economic growth. Silva said the campaign for reduced funding of fossil fuels explorations has led to a gale of the investment by the international oil companies in Nigeria, Quote, I strongly believe that this is an opportunity for oil and gas exploration in the country because Nigeria's independent producers have developed the capacity to fill in the gap, end of quote. He, however, admitted that the risk of limited international financing of oil and gas projects could jeopardize Africa's energy transition and roadmap to attaining net zero emission, insisting that Africa will have to look inward and harness its resources while accelerating technology development to face the global energy transition onslaught. Air passengers have continued to groan over the drastic rise in ticket prices on domestic routes, with a one-way flight costing as much as 125,000 naira. Findings by Daily Trust have shown. This development has seen many air travelers either cancelling their trips or using alternative means as the prices of tickets have gone up to the ceiling. Airlines have blamed the development on the skyrocketing Jet A1 price coupled with the rising operational cost. The jet fuel, which was less than 200 naira per litre last year, is now over 800 naira, and there are fears the price may reach 1,000 naira amidst the raging Russia-Ukraine war, which has disrupted the supply chain in the oil industry. This was worsened by the suspension of flights by aero contractors and the suspension of Dana Air by the Nigerian Civil Aviation Authority, NCAA. Some stakeholders have, however, advised airlines to sell tickets to reflect the current price of Jet A1. And still in the aviation sector, following the persistent rise in the cost of aviation fuel, known as Jet A1, which is beginning to cause apprehension in the minds of stakeholders in the industry, an analyst has raised the alarm that the price surge will continue in the coming days. Aviation expert Dr. Dayo Kayode, who stated this on IBrandTV's Business Breakfast show, stressed that if issues like rising value of the dollar against the naira and fixing the moribund refineries are not addressed, the sector may experience a collapse.
This is the beginning of the rising. Why am I saying so? Some factors, underlying factors are there. Number one, if we had been refining our crude oil in this country, we would have been facing this kind of a situation in terms of saying the war in Russia and that of Ukraine is disturbing movement of vessels on the IC? No. If the hedonistic tendencies of our leaders are being curbed the way some of us have been talking before now, will we be in this situation that we are? No. If the way some of us have been talking as regards these issues, if the aviation industry too had foreseen it, the stakeholders there have foreseen this situation and they have joined voices with some of us, will we be in this situation? Again, the rising value of the dollar against the naira. NNPC that had just been sold, where is the money generated by NNPC going to? Because along the line, dollars coming in from sales of crude oil and all that have been going to an account that is also trying as much as possible to sustain the way the value of the naira then. But now, where is it going to?
Moving on, the Minister of Communications and Digital Economy, PANTAMI, has said he is against attempts by the federal government to introduce a 5% excise duty on telecommunication services. According to him, the move would impact the sector and Nigerians negatively. The minister stated that the telecom sector already contributes a lot to the Nigerian economy and urged the government to consider taxing other sectors of the economy that were not contributing to national development.